I have to always remember to unmute my microphone. But good evening and welcome to another edition of Taking Stock live right here on YouTube and Facebook. I'm your host, Kalila Reynolds. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Glad to see so many of you on already and waiting. Let me know in the comments where you're joining us from. I love to see us. Mandeville checking in. Lavar is always here. Debbie Cool says New York in the building. Steve McCalla says Toronto checking in. And I see, people all over the world. Raquel Francis is checking in from Kingston. So let me know in the comments where you're joining us from and what you're looking forward to in tonight's conversation. We do have a jam-packed episode for you as usual. So here's a look at what's coming up as well as what's hot in business. Jamaican fast food chain Island Grill is expanding. The eatery is seeking to employ 100 new staff, including positions at a new Spanish Town restaurant. But what are their plans beyond Jamaica? And will they ever do an IPO? CEO and founder of Island Grill, Thalia Lyn, joins us. And the analysts weigh in on the latest market developments. No more one-minute IPOs. The FSC wants to end the practice, but why? American Airlines is starting direct flights from Miami to Ochi in November. STATIN is reporting quarterly growth of nearly 7%, and results for lighting company Fosrich are out. How did they do? We'll discuss. But first, here's What's Hot, brought to you by Jamaica Money Market Brokers, your best interest at heart.
Jamaica's economy is showing signs of continued recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. According to STATIN, the economy grew 6.7% during the fourth quarter of 2021 compared to the fourth quarter of 2020. The agency said that the services industries grew 9%, while the goods-producing industries grew only 0.5%. It also noted that the economy was positively impacted by the relaxation of some COVID-19 measures, including the easing of global travel restrictions and curfew hours. According to STATIN, the economy grew by 1.4% in the fourth quarter of 2021 compared with the third quarter of that year. This was the sixth consecutive quarter of growth since a 15% decline in the second quarter of 2020. STATIN said that based on preliminary estimates for the calendar year 2021, the economy grew by 4.6% overall. Alliance Financial Services is approved for reopening under its new owner, Sagicor Group Jamaica. The Bank of Jamaica says under the new structure, AFSL has satisfied the bank's due diligence requirements. The company is again licensed to offer cambio and remittance services effective March 23. In February, Sagicor announced that it had entered into an agreement to purchase 100% of the shares in the troubled AFSL. The Bank of Jamaica had suspended AFSL's cambio and remittance operations in December after the company and its principals were charged with multiple breaches of the law. The newest member of the Jamaica Stock Exchange, Edufocal, has acquired the website and assets of an American-based education technology company. The site, Clever School Teacher, is based in Denver. It provides monthly curated K-1 resources and live online professional development sessions for K-1 teachers in the United States. According to Edufocal, the acquisition, which is being financed by the company, will immediately begin to contribute to earnings. CEO Gordon Swaby said the acquisition will give the company an immediate presence in the U.S., as well as access to hard currency and opportunities at the early childhood level. The company noted that education has many niches, including teachers, not just students. Tesla CEO Elon Musk now owns 9.2% of Twitter. According to a regulatory filing, Musk purchased 73.5 million shares of the social media platform, making him the company's largest individual investor. Musk's stake in Twitter is considered a passive investment, which means he's a long-term investor looking to minimize his buying and selling of the shares. However, the tech CEO has been very vocal about what he says are freedom of speech issues on the platform. Financial analysts are speculating that his passive stake could be the start of broader conversations with Twitter that could ultimately lead to a more aggressive ownership role in the company. Twitter stock surged 25% before the opening bell Monday. What's Hot was brought to you by Jamaica Money Market Brokers, your best interest at heart.
Spurtree stock is up 300% in just 3 months since its IPO, and Fesca stock is up 1,000% since IPO a year ago. $10,000 invested in Fesco a year ago would be worth $100,000 today. And while these results aren't guaranteed, you need to learn how to start investing so that the next opportunity doesn't miss you. Take my Investing for Beginners masterclass and learn the basics about stock market investing, how to decide what to invest in, and how to get started at KalilaReynolds.com/masterclass. But wait, there's more. Get my broker guide, stocks tracker, and free access to my newsletter when you subscribe today. Go to KalilaReynolds.com/masterclass. Let's get this money. This segment of Taking Stock is brought to you by Bulwark Insurance Agency. Insurance made easy. Welcome back. Welcome back. So good to see so many of you joining us live right now. Nearly 200 people in the early mix. And I have my suspicions as to why that is. And partly because our guest coming up is a superstar in the industry. So let me big up everybody joining us. Stacy is in Westmoreland. Roger Roberts says, come through Edufocal. Yep, you've been seeing some good returns on that so far, haven't you? Strong Link says, good night, investors. I really need this money. Logging in from Waterworks, St. Andrew. Big up Richie. Richie says, let's get this money. Yes, let's get it, babe. Tavia's checking in from Kingston. Ian is in Toronto. And Christoph pointing out that the airport is actually in Boscobel, St. Mary, not Ochi. I know this, Christoph, but in tourism marketing, they tend to talk about Ochi and Montego Bay. So Montego Bay, they refer to as not only St. James, but also Trelawney and Hanover. And then Negril is Westmoreland and probably piece of Hanover too. And then for Ocho Rios, they refer to both Ochi and St. Mary in terms of tourism marketing. So even though the airport is technically in Boscobel, St. Mary, the marketing, when they're marketing hotels, they say come to Ochi. So even if you're going to couples in St. Mary or sometimes even in Portland, you might hear in terms of the marketing that they're going to call it Ochi. So take no offense. That's just how it is because those are the more popularly known destinations. Internationally, nobody really knows Boscobel. So that's how it's done in terms of marketing. But yeah, let's get into tonight's discussion. And it is a very good one. May I say so, if I do say so myself, even before we conduct the interview, I anticipate that it's going to be a good one because I have been wanting to talk to this lady for quite some time. You know the place named Island Grill? Not so little, huh? A fast food chain, Jamaican homegrown chain named Island Grill. You know that place? Well, they are expanding. They're seeking to employ 100 new staff, including at their new location, their new restaurant in Spanish Town. We're going to find out where else as well, because I've been wondering if they have any international expansion plans and if they have any IPO plans. And I suspect that's why so many of you are tuning in as well. So I'm very pleased to introduce my guest for the evening. Her name is Thalia Lyn. She is the CEO and founder of Island Grill. Hi, Thalia.
Hello, happy to be here with you.
I am so happy to have you. I have so many questions I want to ask you. You've been in business with this company for over 30 years now. Island Grill founded in 1991. What was it like? Way back in 91, you went through the tumultuous FinSac era, but tell me when you were starting the business, what led to your idea to start a chicken shop?
Well, one of the things was because I didn't think there was a healthy alternative on the market. And I thought, I've always traveled with my husband, and we always saw opportunity in niche markets. So we started first with a little ice cream shop called Dairy Castle in Manor Park, and we did soft serve ice cream. But ice cream alone didn't give us enough revenues. So we added hamburgers, and from that we kind of evolved into more food. And really and truly, we thought chicken, that's what Jamaicans love. And we do realize that Jamaicans love fried chicken. I love fried chicken too. But we just thought, we need a healthy alternative. And we thought if we did a grilled chicken, that could be the answer. So we started a chicken chain called Chicken Supreme. And we intentionally tried to look as foreign as possible because we all know, well, we knew that Jamaicans just love anything, they have a bias for anything foreign. So we had all the red, blues, those kinds of colors. And we didn't put a lot of seasoning on the chicken. We thought, let's just have dipping sauces. Well, it
No,
was
that's white people food. That's not Jamaican. That's not black people food.
exactly. That was really white people food. And I have to be careful. My daughter-in-law is very white, but she has got to be the chicken princess in waiting because she's so Jamaicanized. I mean, she eats jackfruit. I mean, she loves Jamaican food. But anyway, we used oregano and parsley and all those bland tasting seasonings. But it wasn't until we threw that out and started with um, thyme and Scotch bonnet and all the true Jamaican spices. And Mohan Jagnarine, Spurtree, he was with us at the time. And he said, Miss Lynn, we have to try jerk seasoning. And he did it. He put jerk seasoning on the chicken and we put it on the grill. And that was our big success. We had moderate success though with Chicken Supreme. But really and truly, when we put jerk on the chicken, that's when we really found a true success and found our roots.
So how long did that transition take you? How long did it take before you realized, okay, this Chicken Supreme bland chicken isn't working, we need to jerk it up?
I think because we had moderate success, we weren't in any big rush. But I think we also thought that we could do better. So 1998, we rebranded. And when we rebranded, we made the menu even more Jamaicanized. And we decided that we can't look foreign anymore. We have to now look local. So we changed around the whole decor. My son and daughter-in-law were not with us at the time, but they redesigned all the packaging. They came up with the 3 dancing red peppers. We then started with barbecue chicken as well. We also did rice and peas came later. We wanted to be different, so we started with pumpkin rice and callaloo rice because we thought, let's be different. But really and truly, rice and peas was a shot. So rice and peas, fried plantain, fish in file, stuffed with callaloo at the time. Festival was a big hit. If we don't have Festival in our store, it's like pandemonium in there. It's like our season.
I can tell you, my kids love Festival. They don't want me to go to Island Grill just to get Festival.
And I challenge you, Kalila. I think we have the best festival in town. I have the best festival rollers. I have a lady there at the festival table, Miss Dean, who has been with me, I think I would say from inception. And she's just very content being right there at the festival table. And she can roll a festival.
Well, we have lots of questions in the comments. I'm going to come to your questions, viewers, because I know you want to know about the seasoned fries, among other things. Somebody asked when they're coming back. So let me throw that one in there before I get to my rest of questions, because lots of people, that was a big controversy when you announced the ingredients for the seasoned fries weren't there and you have to substitute.
It's not that the ingredients weren't there, it was supply chain issues. So we buy our fries from McCain's and we pre-order. We always have like a container of fries in reserve. So the seasoned fries, I'm happy to say, will be back in another few weeks. But if you notice how well my team pivoted, we have breadfruit on there. We have crushed breadfruit, something like that.
It's really good.
It's doing very, very well. So we're still getting the complaints. Bring back the fries. They're coming. But I can't guarantee what will happen either.
I have to say, Island Grill has the best fries, though. You do have the best fries. The seasoned fries are really, really good. So back to questioning about the actual business and those early days. So it took you about 7 years before you rebranded to Island Grill and you embraced the Jamaican roots, the Jamaican heritage, what makes you unique as a chicken company or chicken restaurant. And you now have 16 locations in Jamaica, one in Barbados. And I was watching another interview with you recently, and you said there was a time when you did attempt to expand the is a franchise? No, the restaurant chain, I should say, to Florida. So tell me what happened there.
We were doing really well when we first opened. Boy, the sales that day, I was blown away. I said, "Oh, wow, fabulous!" And I had my team with me there as well. It was Prime Minister Patterson who opened the store. Big excitement. But
Where in
then
Florida was it?
it was in Lauderdale Lakes, and
Mhm.
it's a Jamaican community as well.
Mm.
I know some
And
of the
what year was that?
Khalil. I don't remember because I want to forget it.
But more or less
Sorry.
like early 2000s?
It was, what happened? If you remember 9/11, that's what turned things around. That's
Oh,
really when things turned
and that
because
was
we started off
2001.
well. Yes, yes, it was 2001 that 9/11 hit. And as I said, I'm conveniently forget. I know that. I know the year. But we had put so much into that restaurant. And we were so we thought we're not just taking Island Grill abroad. We're taking all our Jamaican suppliers. I remember Ting. We had Ting with us, grown with you. You're telling everybody Jamaican grapefruit. We had took our jerk seasoning with us. We arranged for the same tilapia to be there. The only thing different, I have to tell you, and this was one of the contributing factors with us kind of waning a little bit. The chicken up there don't taste like the chicken in Jamaica. The chicken in Florida was pumped full of hormones as
It
well.
does not taste the same. I can
Yes,
tell you that for
I'm glad
sure.
you agree with me. I'm glad you don't think I'm just making it up.
No, it's
And the
not just you. It
breast is
doesn't
so
taste the same.
ah, we marinate for 48 hours, and boy, no matter how much we marinated, it just didn't seem to, it couldn't get into those big fat breasts. So I will say that we opened a second restaurant, and the both restaurants started off well, and I was really heartened. I thought, geez, now we're gone abroad. Name gone abroad. All our suppliers are there with us. Festival Mix came with us. Everything, and after 9/11, when everything just came to almost a halt because Florida, being a tourism state as well, was so dependent on people traveling into the state. Everything locked down, believe me. So we didn't have deep enough pockets to just hold on. And I will tell you, the reason I know it could have been successful is because employees of ours who then learned how to marinate the chicken, learned all the, I wouldn't say secret recipes, because a lot of it is also in the execution, but they stayed on, did catering, and they did very well with the catering out of their homes.
But since then, and you said, well, it's because of 9/11, the entire economy changed, the entire world changed after that. And that would have been difficult for any business to survive, especially one that's just starting, coming from another country, bringing all these suppliers with you. Since then, though, it's been 20 years now, more than 20 years since that happened, and you haven't made another attempt to enter that market. Is it coming? Is it something that you would still like to do? And not just the United States, but also the rest of the Caribbean, because you do have one location in Barbados.
Yes, and the partnership with Goddard in Barbados was with that intention. We thought, well, we'll expand throughout the Caribbean and maybe into Latin America, because wherever Goddard had a foothold, that's where they wanted us to be. And we thought that sounds like a good strategy. But I have to say, it's hard when you don't quite have all your processes and procedures down pat. So we're still working on them, and it's not, our process is not as easy as a KFC. KFC, they use a batter, they batter it in a machine, throw it into the henny penny, set the timer, and up pops the cooked chicken. Now there's a lot of the human element that goes into our products. Like as I said, you still have to roll the festival. You have Jamaica Flour Mills makes our festival dough, so we've come a long way. We used to sit there and weigh out each ingredient and bag them up, per how many, whatever the yield was per bag. But Jamaica Flour Mills, they have a confidentiality agreement with us. It's our recipe. They make our festival mix. So it's that part of it. You have to take the dough, mix it out, portion it out, roll it. The chicken takes, wow, we used to do our chicken solely on the grill from scratch, but now we kind of par cook it in a combi oven and then finish it on the grill because we still want that grilled taste to kind of get the seasoning down just a little bit further. So our cooks, I mean, even though we time everything and we have a procedure, sometimes one piece of chicken just is a little bit heavier or bigger than another piece of chicken. So even though our suppliers know that we want the same weight every time, same size, that just doesn't happen. So it's hard to franchise that kind of operation, but we haven't given up, right? I have a succession plan. My son and daughter-in-law are in the business with me now that their children are finished university and they're back here and they've been working on exactly that, developing the leadership, which is coming along so nicely, and getting the processes and the everything down, just down pat, standardizing everything.
So you do intend to make a second stab at the US market?
Kalila, to be honest, I would prefer to actually go to somewhere like Birmingham because, I've been to Birmingham. I have been wooed
Birmingham,
and begged
Alabama, or
to
Birmingham, England?
go Birmingham, UK. I
Mm.
mean, that has got to be one of the most diverse places that I've ever been to. I'm sure the different ethnicities outnumber the people who really are, indigenous, or if you want to call them that, from the UK. I see it's such a diverse city and it's just begging for me. I'm sure. They do great patties there. It's a challenge I'd love to take on, but I have to convince my succession, my CEO designate, my daughter-in-law and my son, that we're ready because they want everything to be perfect. And I'm just more spontaneous, unfortunately. But it will happen. It will happen.
Well, speaking of the succession plan, you've been mentioning your son and your daughter-in-law quite a bit, and I imagine that you, at some point, want to retire, hence the succession plan. Do you have a timeline for that?
If they feel that they're ready to take over, I think that they're almost there. And there's so many other things I want to do. I chair the NCB Foundation. I'm involved with Mustard Seed. I'd like to get more involved with UN Women. I'd like to be able to help my single mother employees who just need something to, it's so much that my garden, my orchids, just things like that. And the brain slowing down a little bit, not much, but I want to prepare myself for that.
Okay, fair enough. Well, the big question, any plans for an IPO? Because there's all this capital out there and you are putting in the governance in place, the structures in place,
You don't sound like
streamlining the processes, and there's all this capital out there. People want to invest in quality companies. Is it something that you would consider for Island Grill to raise capital? I think she is frozen. Yes, here we go.
Yes, something happened there. My
Yeah, you're
network
frozen for a bit.
internet is giving me a little bit of a problem here.
Right. So I was asking, given that there is so much capital out there right now, people, Jamaicans wanting to invest in quality companies, and Island Grill being one such quality company, and also given that you're putting all this effort into the governance structures and streamlining your processes, is an IPO something that you would consider for Island Grill, not just to raise capital for possible expansion, but also so that Jamaicans can own piece of the company?
Well, the first persons I would want to own a piece of the company would be my employees, because as I said, I have people who have been with me for such a long time and have done so well. And this, I have to credit my daughter-in-law and my son with this as well. They're very intent on developing leaders. But I started it though. I started, like, I have people who, I have team members who have gone from being team members to shift supervisors, to store managers, to district managers. Denise Barrow Singh started when she was 17 years old and couldn't even pay statutories. She and Lisa Chisholm joined 19 years ago and went all the way. They're now commissary managers, one in charge of inventory, one in charge of production. And Denise actually has gone over to quality assurance. My Robin Thomas is somebody who started as a receptionist, and she didn't quite fit in there. So she said, let me try accounting. She went there. She did
Well,
well.
if you do an IPO, you could have an employee pool that
That's
allows
what
your employees
exactly.
to buy in.
Yeah. So I mean, as I said, yes. So that's what I would want to do at some stage. And yes, we are thinking about it, because I do feel that it would make me feel good, really and truly, to know that Jamaicans want to be part of us, part of Island Grill.
Well, I have 400 people joining us live right now, watching, many of whom are very interested because this is about twice the number of live viewers that we normally have. And just having that title on this show has attracted all of this interest. Now, tell me about your more immediate expansion plans, because COVID-19 has been rough on every industry, but the restaurant industry was one of those very badly hit. I heard that you went from over 800 or almost 800 employees to about 600 employees because of COVID-19. And now you are in the process of rebuilding. So tell me about those immediate plans.
So we closed 3 restaurants during COVID. The one at Donald Sangster, the Landside, one at Norman Manley, and the one at UTEC. Then we opened King Street because everything was on its way. All of the equipment was on its way. But we're opening in Spanish Town in New Brunswick Village, and it's going to be a wonderful store because it's a whole little village that has been conceptualized by John Bailey and his team. And I think it's really the first restaurant that we've been involved with from the very beginning, with the whole layout of the village itself. We're going to have a drive-through without, the drive-through nowadays is key, but a drive-through that we could lay out exactly how we wanted it. This one is going to make me so happy. And we're hoping to have that open by December.
By December, okay. And beyond Spanish Town, any other plans?
Well, we have 2 that we're planning in Ochi. Actually, I call it White River is really St. Mary, but White River and then in Ochi. So we're working on those because there again we want to make sure that it's laid out the way we want it. We had, when we just started, we had to take whatever was offered to us or we had to beg for, because squeezing ourselves into existing buildings because our plumbing might be different, electrics might be different. It wasn't easy. It's pushing your foot into a shoe that really don't fit you, and you're putting inner soles in there. But this, I'm happy about the way we're strategically opening restaurants now.
So I see a lot of comments coming in, people still asking about the seasoned fries. I'm guessing those are people who joined us late. Guys, she did say that seasoned fries will be back on the menu in you said about 2 weeks, right?
We were hoping that they would have been here by the end of March, and it's now April. So, it's Robin, where are you? Robin is a purchasing manager. But she did bring us up to date because she did say she had hoped for the end of March. So I would hope in another 2 weeks. So I want to hear everybody, when they do come back, tell me how happy they are because I've got so much cussing for not having them.
So let me take some of the questions from the viewers. I was trying to find some of them. So Debbie says, please come to Florida and New York. Leon wants you up in Westmoreland. And I see quite a few other people saying they want Island Grill, other places. Levar says, any plans to get some of these products in supermarkets? That festival mix would be nice.
I'll speak to Flour Mills and ask them if they'd like to brand our product because you see they have their own festival mix in there. So, but thanks for that. That's a good suggestion. I might have to give you royalties for that.
Let me go back to the questions. Let me see. Lots of people were asking about IPOs. I
And we
already
don't
asked
intend.
that
We
one.
think we can double.
Miss Lynn is freezing, unfortunately. We're having some internet issues, but let me
Am
come
I
back
freezing?
to. Okay, I can hear you now. You're back now. Lots of people saying that they agree that you have the best festival. Natoya says yes, we have best festival. Jay says always add 2 festival to my order. Best fries too. Oh, Lucas Aid says my father loved the roast fish in foil paper, and he or she wanted to bring that back. Any plans to do fish? Well, it is Lent. People having fish.
You know what? There again, Kalila, that it was supply issues. That's why we had to take it off the menu. It's like when we launched our green juice. True Juice told us that we caused a string bean shortage in the market. They didn't know that. They didn't think it would have done so well. And that green juice just has been really good for us. And this is where we're good. You're not innovating. And that's why pivoting during COVID was not as tumultuous as I thought it would have been because my team just know how to pivot and wheel and come again.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Let me see some more questions here from the viewers. I'm trying to get them all in, but you're typing so fast, guys. Lucas Aid wanted you to bring back the 3 different levels of sauces, a hot, mild, and another, he says.
Can I also explain though, Kalila, that when we have so many choices on the menu, it slows down the service
Mm.
because you get to the cashier, leg or breast. Which rice do you want? In fact, we have 3 rices on the menu and we have to alternate them. Always have rice and peas, but callaloo and pumpkin rice are alternated because it just slows down the whole process when your menu is so wide.
Yeah, definitely can understand that. It also slows it down, not just in the ordering process, but you have to be producing all these different
Yes.
options as well. In
Careful.
regards to the possible re-entry, and I'm just saying, just throwing this out there because we were talking about whether or not you'd be interested in going back to the United States. Stronglink was saying that, well, there is competition in that area. No, there's a jerk grill in Broward Mall. He says that there's Jamaican food that's better than in Jamaica. So is
Ah,
competition something that you worry about?
Kalila, if I was really worried about competition, I wouldn't have gone into the food business at all because I know when we entered the QSR business, the foreign franchises, you have the top performing KFCs and Burger Kings here in Jamaica. So if I had any trepidation, I think I'm even braver now. I'm more courageous, and it's because I know I have a good team. So competition doesn't bother us.
Mm. In terms
What
of
bothers people?
yeah, what bothers you?
Finding people, because as I said, we need 100 people.
For the Spanish Town location or just in general?
in general, because the BPOs are just sucking up all the people out there. The good thing about us is that we do have a good culture. So some of them have left and come back. My district managers call them the returning residents, because we have tried to create a family like um, development atmosphere. We do feel a need. It's our jobs. We want to encourage people that this could be your first job, but we want it to be your best first job. So, and you can go all the way through to the top with us. You could even be the CEO. Denise is saying, I don't know if I can be the CEO. Maybe we need an outside CEO. So we're open to anything.
So Richard Rochester is asking, would Island Grill be interested in doing a franchise? So how does it work now? Your company owns all 16 restaurants and operates all 16 restaurants?
Correct, correct. And that again, too, we had developed a franchise policy, but at this point, we'd have to be developing a whole second team, and we can't even, we don't even have enough employees right now since COVID. And because if I did a franchise, if you are somewhere else, even another part of Jamaica, my team would have to go in there and train you from scratch and train your whole staff. So at this point, but it's never say never.
Mikhail says if he was you, he would drop an Island Grill in Drax Hall. That seems to be the hot spot right now, near just outside Ocho Rios.
Coming.
It's
It's
coming.
coming.
Tell you. I tell you. All right. Well, thank you so much, Thalia Lyn. It was my pleasure speaking with you. And of course, we will continue following your journey in hopes of a possible IPO, in hopes of us getting an opportunity to own a stake in this iconic Jamaican company. And of course, I'd love to have your successors on when that time comes as well, to hear their vision for this company.
Well, thank you for having me, and I appreciate all the interest. I appreciate all the questions. So it does show that we have a lot of goodwill out there and that people love our Jamaican food. And I'm Jamaican. I'm Jamaican through and through. I don't even speak Chinese, even though I'm of Chinese heritage. I'm Jamaican.
Born and raised, yes.
Honestly, so just
I love
continue,
to see it.
everybody. Eat good, live good.
Absolutely. Yes, Island Grill's slogan. Love to see it. Thank you so much, Thalia. And viewers, drop a like on Facebook or YouTube, wherever you're viewing us right now. It helps the algorithm tell other people like you to watch the show. So hit that like button, like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Up next, it's your market recap, and the analysts are standing by. Taking Stock was brought to you by Bulwark Insurance Agency. Insurance made easy.
Time now for your market recap. The Jamaica Stock Exchange advanced, with the combined index gaining 3,100 points, or nearly 1%. 119 stocks traded across both the main and junior markets of the JSE for the week ending Friday, April 1, 2022. 58 advanced, 47 declined, and 14 stayed the same. Nearly 317 million shares changed hands on the Jamaican dollar market, totaling nearly $2 billion. Spirtree Spices was the most traded. It took up nearly 37% of market volume. The stock gained 1 cent to open this new week at $3.70. Trans-Jamaican Highway traded at the second highest volume, with people buying 32 million shares in the company. The stock's price gained 15 cents to open this new week at $1.43. And Wigton Wind Farm rounded out the most traded, taking up 6% of market volume. The stock lost 5 cents to open this week at 65 cents. Now let's see who else had the biggest gains for the week. 138 Student Living Jamaica Variable Preference was last week's biggest gainer. The stock price jumped nearly 65% to close last week at $16.50. And 138 Student Living Jamaica Variable Preference was also March's second biggest gainer, right after Edufocal. The stock price rose 75% to close last month at $13.58. Margaritaville Turk stock advanced by nearly 17% to close last week at $25.64. However, Margaritaville Turks was also last month's third biggest loser, down 18% to close March at $22.85. And rounding out our biggest gains, Fosrich is up nearly 13% to open this week at $18.53. On the losing side now, Dolphin Cove was the biggest loser, down nearly 25% to close last week at $20.28. The stock triggered the circuit breaker on Friday as investors tried to dump the stock following the publication of its audited financials, which show a loss for October to December 2021. Epley 5% preference shares fell 15% to open this new week at $18.60. And rounding of the week's biggest losers, Main Event Entertainment Group lost 15% to close at $7.09. Now here's a look at some of the highlights for the month of March. The main index advanced by less than 0.5%. The junior market advanced by nearly 6%. The financial index fell by 1%, and the manufacturing and distribution index advanced by 2%. Edufocal topped March's biggest gains. The stock price rose 269% to close last month at $3.69. And rounding out March's biggest gains, Cargo Handler's stock price rose 48% to open April at $12. On the losing side, Caribbean Assurance Brokers dropped nearly 23% to end March at $2.35. And Margaritaville Turks USD dropped 20% to open April at 16 cents US. This segment of Taking Stock, The Analysts, is brought to you by Proven Wealth and Ideal Securities Brokers Limited.
Welcome back. Reminding you once again to hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel and subscribe to the newsletter at KalilaReynolds.com/newsletter, because guess what? We will be on a break next week. There will be no Taking Stock next week. Team will be on Easter vacation. We'll be getting some fun in the sun, hopefully, or some rest and relaxation, well deserved. And we will be back with a new episode on the 19th of April. So make sure that you're subscribed to the newsletter so you can get all the updates other than on the program. So if you're missing us, you will always have the newsletter. Also want to encourage you to take this evening's poll. So our poll question is actually about NHT, because I put this on Instagram and TikTok, and this has been like my biggest video in terms of views ever. Over 105,000 people watched that video on TikTok, in addition to I don't even know how many on Instagram as well. And lots of comments came in on it. So I said, well, we should ask this in our poll questions this week. And it's about the NHT. What do you think about the NHT now allowing 3 people to come together to pool their contributions to purchase a house? A, it's great, makes it more affordable. B, foolishness, sounds like a tenement yard. C, they should raise the max amount that you can borrow instead. Or D, other, you can just leave a comment. So take that on the community tab of the YouTube channel, or if you're using the app on your phone, it will come up somewhere on your feed on YouTube, or you can also find the link in our newsletter that will go out tomorrow morning, or just leave a comment below. What do you think about the NHT now allowing 3 people to pool their NHT contributions to purchase a house? Also, let me know in the comments, what do you think? Do you think Island Grill should do an IPO? What are your thoughts on that at this point in time? Interesting. Okay, so let's go to the analysts. Let's introduce our panel because we have a few things to talk about today. We're joined by Wealth Manager at Ideal Securities Brokers Company, Oric Angus, and Assistant Manager of Private Equity at Proven Management, Julian Morrison. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hey, Kalila.
Hi, Kalila. Good night.
I know I feel like I haven't seen you in a minute, Oric.
Yeah, I've been up and down recently.
Yeah, gotta
Good to
get
be
that
back
work
now.
in. Work.
Yes.
You have to jerk like Island. All right. So, have you heard about? I saw David is the one who wrote this article for the Observer. There is a new set of proposals that the FSC, the Financial Services Commission, is putting out there, and among these proposals is for them to do away with the 1-minute IPOs. So there would be a new requirement if these proposals go through and they decide to use what is now proposed. An IPO would have to be open for at least 3 days before it can be closed. So, what are the pros and cons of this proposal, in your opinion? Let's start with you, Oric.
Yes, thank you, Kalila. I've seen the article, and it brings me back to the discussion that we had the last time we spoke in regards to the timing for us analysts to do
Right, we were
our
talking about that.
reports, right? So I think it is a very important issue. The FSC would have is nothing is finalized yet. They're gathering their polls based on persons who would have responded to their polls to gather the data. In regards to this topic, though, is a very sensitive topic. Everybody will have their own opinion on it. In regards to my opinion, I do think it's worth looking into in regards to giving us more time to inform investors in regards to what kind of decision they should make before investing in any IPO, not just IPO, but in any company. So and even the article even touch on the topic um, about proposing a lockup period after these companies are listed in regards to who is selling. So, for example, I know that in the US, like any insiders, for example, the owner, the founder, the employees, and the management team are not allowed to sell within the first 90 to 180-day period after listing and stuff like that. I mean, the 1 minute IPO also limits individual chances of applying. The article also speaks to electronic problems through various digital platforms that ones would have want to apply it on. I mean, we also know that you'd not necessarily have to wait exactly on opening day to register for an IPO. But case in point, and I don't think the FSC is pointing directly to Eddie Focal, it's just using internet as an example. So for example, I know Ash Wednesday, that was a holiday, and then Thursday morning, 9:01, the IPO closed. So that would have limited many individual chances of applying to the IPO or the lack of processing their transaction on a day like that. So I mean, a scenario like this would have allowed individuals to have more time, one to apply, and for us analysts to vet the financials and provide recommendations. In regards to, I think I have the article right here. Some of the proposal is a bit stringent in terms of raising capital. I saw Mayberry comments in regards to that will some of these proposals might limit the number of brokers who would want to list IPOs versus
Right. So that had to
just
do with a different proposal under the same set. So
exactly
saying that what our brokers would not be allowed to have.
right.
I'm not sure if it was said no pool at all, no reserve pool at all for
But that was
brokers,
also
or if it
another
was going to
issue.
be limited,
I mean,
right?
there are several different issues that popped up in that article that we need to discuss seriously before we can make
Seriously,
any
yeah.
final
Because that's
decisions.
another major one that we do need to discuss too.
Right.
But first, I want to hear Julian's thoughts on it, because my immediate thought was, well, the problem isn't so much with the 1 minute open and close or the same day open and close,
Right.
but there isn't enough lead up time many times. If you
Right.
have an IPO publishing just 7 days, then you have to be scrambling to try find information
Yeah,
for you as
especially when you
analysts
have
to try
like
put
two
stuff
or three
out,
back to back.
for me as media to try organize interviews, and then they make it so strict that you cannot get any information before the IPO is
Right.
published. So once the IPO is published, now I have to go try hurry read a 300-page document, hurry book an interview, hurry make the interview come out before the opening date so that people have information before the opening date.
Yeah.
So that's for me in media, and I imagine that you face some of the same
Yeah, especially
same
when you have more
issues.
than one
So
issues
for
coming
me,
up
I
back to
think
back.
what they should do to resolve that issue is to have a longer period between publication and opening date. And that could also solve some of the technical challenges that people have been having applying, because if you apply before, then you still have more time to resolve that issue before the opening date. But to me, if you have an opening date, if you have a very small pool, so this goes especially for the junior market listings, the edufocals and so on, that just came out that are very small, and you force people to keep it open for however many days, even though the allocations are already full from day one and from minute one, all that does is reduce the allocations for everybody. And people already complain that they barely get anything in the allocations. But let me hear what you think about it, Julian.
Well, you covered most of the touch points between yourself and Oric. Pretty much, we have to ensure that investors have the time to not just have access to the information, but to digest the information, because investing is heavily knowledge based, and it's very important for investors to not just look at the price, but to understand the nuances of the asset that they're buying. So, what is the industry dynamic? Sometimes you might have a company that is listing that has no comparables. For example, JFP, there is no other furniture company. So, sometimes an issue like that will force investors to have to do more due diligence on their own. So I agree with you, Kalila, especially on the point that lead up time will make a huge difference. I know a part of the 1 minute issue is just a fact of supply and demand. Sometimes there's a fairly small issue and there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of demand. So that gap will also create some of the challenges, but that can be seen as a good thing in that investors are essentially confident enough to come in with that amount of demand to close an offer quickly. So it's two sides of the coin, but I think a longer lead up time could make a huge difference.
Yeah. What do you think about the whole issue of the brokers not being allowed to have a reserve pool, not only for themselves, but also for their clients? No reserve pool for brokers and clients? That has become standard practice.
Yes, I think the idea is that, or the rationale is that investors, one set of investors shouldn't be given what is thought of as an advantage over others, right? When you're looking at efficient capital markets, you want markets that are somewhat lateral in terms of the information that is out there, right? As much as possible, so that markets can be seen as legitimate. Legitimate is a word. So I think that's a thought process that went into it. However, I don't necessarily agree with it, and this is my own opinion, because the fact of the matter is, if a broker is going to do the work to arrange and structure an offer, they should actually be able to position themselves if they so choose, and if of course their risk committee approves of it, they should be given the opportunity to participate in the offer. Because just like any other occupation, when you arrange an offer, you can structure the terms of your compensation, and there's nothing to say that it is illegitimate. I mean, it's just another business arrangement, pretty much. There's no violation there, especially as it pertains to the broker participating in the offer. However, one has to realize that it's a delicate situation, because as a broker, you want to be able to show things on your menu that other brokers might not have. But at the same time, you want to have a free, in terms of information, a free flowing market in terms of information. But at the same time, you want to be competitive. That's the word. You want to be competitive. So really and truly, we'll have to flesh it out some more, see if we can get some details and come to some middle ground. But I think that brokers should be able to participate, and it definitely needs to be fleshed out some more, because there are a lot of questions there.
Yeah, as if Philip says, the brokers need to have skin in the game, and I agree with that. Let's see what the FSC ultimately decides. They're taking suggestions and comments up until April 8th. So that is, I think, Friday. So you have a few days to send your comments to the FSC. I saw Philip also saying, I understand the media issue, but industry advisors have enough time. Not at all, because you guys don't get it till it come out same way, right, Julian and Oric? Unless
Yeah,
you're
only
one leading the
persons.
IPO.
Yeah, only persons in the industry can speak to
The
that
issue is
because
not really to go through the prospectus. The issue is
yeah,
to like prepare the analysis for
Right,
investor.
exactly. It's the
yeah,
same
You
thing.
know,
So you have to, but that
right,
it starts with going through the prospectus and
right,
then
yeah,
preparing the
yeah,
analysis, finding the other
right.
sources of information, getting all of that out in just a few days can be a lot. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not just for the media, Philip, the advisor, same thing. And then when you go to your advisor now, and your advisor hasn't even had time to do their own analysis yet, and then the IPO is opening tomorrow, it puts everybody at a disadvantage. There needs to be a longer lead time. So you guys send your emails to the FSC. David, I said David is on. What's the email address, David? Put it in the comments so people can email the FSC how they feel about this issue. You have until Friday. All right, so let's look at some other happenings this week. We have some news on the economy. STATIN is reporting 6.7% growth for October to December. And we also have American Airlines now flying direct to Ochi. Well, not exactly Ochi, it's Boscobel, but it's geared at the Ocho Rios tourism market. They're going to be flying to the Ian Fleming International Airport, which is it has been traditionally considered a private airport because it caters to like private jets. And so like when Beyonce flies to Portland, they use that airport. So American is now going to be doing 2 commercial flights directly to that airport per week. It's going to be small planes though, because it's a small airport. It's not size of Sangster or Norman Manley. It's a small airport and it can't accommodate the huge jets. But what do you make of this development? Good news for tourism, Julian?
yes, it is great news for tourism, and we have to think about the knock-on effects. It actually is a signal, and investors respond to signals because when it is that there are more touch points for persons to come in and to visit, it can also have a domino effect on trade. So, who's to say that persons who come in might not be interested in different aspects of the Jamaican experience. They might not necessarily just go straight to a hotel or a specific resort. They might pass through a community and take an interest there, and that creates a situation where money can circulate in new areas, and that is what creates economic growth. So I definitely think that it's something that is a positive in more ways than one.
And Oric?
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest advantage that Julian just touched on. You find that with the also another point is that with the volatility in travel restrictions in recent times, these airline in these airline companies, they're trying to build back their revenue margins. So and then on top of that, you have fuel prices which are increasing, airport charges, wages. So they're trying to beef up their revenue streams. A lot of smaller airlines are you find that a lot of these smaller airlines will go to these irregular spots. So, for example, you have Frontier the other day bought out Spirit Airlines to do something similar to this. So you find it that in combination, a lot of growth opportunities are there, and the airlines are there finding other creative ways to get back on their feet.
And it's not just tourism stocks that we should be thinking about. Think about the whole development of Draxhall that we've been seeing over the
Right,
past year, how
right.
Draxhall is building up. You hear Thalia Lyn say Island Grill is coming to Draxhall very soon. There's a Starbucks there, KFC there, lots of things developing in that area. And now you have direct tourism flights twice a week from American Airlines. So it really is great news for
Hmm.
the economy and especially for tourism and for that section of the island.
Right.
Let's look at some company results now. We have Mailpack and we have Fosrich that we need to look at. Let's start with Fosrich, the lighting company. They're on Malines Road is their headquarters. What is their full year performance looking like, Julian?
Okay, so I'll share my screen. All right. So we're looking at the full year performance for the year 2021 ended December. So in terms of revenue growth, they have done quite well. It's above their 3-year average, and pretty much that's a good signal, especially given the challenges that are afoot in terms of the economy. Even though this company is unique in that it benefits from the ongoing construction boom, but we'll get into that in a few moments. In terms of profitability, we can say something similar. It's above its 3-year average, did fantastically in terms of profitability. So the company was able to manage its margins um, across the board. They're talking about their operating efficiency was good. They're talking about managing their gross margins, as we can see below. So the gross margins were actually above the 3-year average as well, and same for their operating efficiency. So you want the operating efficiency to be low. So that would be your operating costs divided by your revenues. You want that to be low, which is a good signal, meaning that your revenues are able to grow at a pace that is faster than your operating expenses. That's a good thing for investors to look at. So essentially, the key metrics are going in the right direction, but let's look at why. So here are some highlights from the company, right? The company is using its cash resources to invest heavily in inventory, and we have realized that the company is doing a lot of forward buying. So what that will do is that it will allow the company to buy their inventory and raw materials at a cheaper price before the price of it goes up, because right now we're in an inflationary spiral. So time is the master. Buying something now versus buying it 3 months from now will make a big difference in terms of pricing when inflation is as it is now, rising at a rate that is above average. So the fact that the company has taken the initiative to actively manage its inflation risks by forward buying is something that has helped its performance to date. So in terms of expansion initiatives, the company has now moved into its 30,000 square foot distribution center because it is now complete, and that will allow them to actually distribute goods at a faster rate. They have spoken to doing 134,000 square foot industrial complex, and that will actually bring in rental revenue for the company in the future. So that will be a new revenue line for them in the future. So that's something that is good in terms of diversification and growing the base separate and apart from core performance, right? The company is big on staff training now. They want to improve productivity there, and productivity should feed back into sales. And it's also good when companies invest in human capital because it keeps their staff motivated. Here, we realize that the company has done so much in a short space of time, and it's good that we look at company leadership because that is what essentially drives performance. So, in my opinion, I think Cecil Foster is a visionary CEO. He isn't running 3 and 4 and 5 different companies at the same time. He is totally focused on Fosrich, and I think that is also a performance driver. You want to see a focused CEO who is a visionary. Now, the company has done debt refinancing to reduce its interest expense, so that has helped to feed into profitability. And as I mentioned before, the company is supported by the ongoing construction and real estate boom. So the company will sell fixtures. We're talking about lighting, we're talking about PVC pipes, we're talking about inputs for renovations and new buildings. So these are major drivers for the company. The construction sector by itself grew 6% year over year as at Q4 2021, according to STATIN. And just for some context, it was the second best performing sector within the goods producing industries, according to the report. So it means that essentially it's one of the growth drivers on a national level, and that feeds back into the company's strategic position. So the company is managing its inflation risks. They want to start taking advantage of supply chain challenges by supplying our neighbors in the Caribbean, Barbados, St. Lucia, Guyana, Cayman, to bring in new revenue streams by tapping new markets. Because if these countries can't bring in goods from the Far East, they can then look to Fosrich to bring in at least some of their supplies. And of course, they have an ongoing partnership with JPS to repair their transformers. And that has also been a growth driver for Fosrich, separate and apart from their core business of selling fixtures to businesses and individuals. So this essentially paints the company in a good light. All the things are pointing in the right direction, as I mentioned before. But what's interesting is that the price has grown significantly in terms of the market activity, right? So in terms of trading, we realize that the price closed at $19.49. Year to date is up 115%, 0.4.
Wow.
It's down 2.55% from its 52-week high, however. But just for context, it's actually creeping up to that 52-week high. So it's getting back to that level very quickly. In terms of the PE, it's around 49 times, and the ROE is about 22%. But for context, the PE of the junior market retail companies is about 23.6 times, and its historical PE over the last 3 years about 27 times. So the point is, it's a good company, but in terms of it being an entry, this being an entry point for the stock, it might not be so great. It might be different for persons who have entered into the stock long before and have bought it at lower valuations, so they would have a lower average price. But right now, it's what we call a bit rich. So you'll be buying at a level that is essentially much higher in terms of valuation, right? And as investors, we want to get into what is called a fair value to ensure we're not overpaying for a great asset. And right now, even though the price might not seem high, $19.49 in terms of the PE and in terms of where it has been historically, it might be a rich level to enter the stock for the first time, especially. However, what's interesting is that the performance has been great, and that has been a catalyst for investor confidence. There are persons who will look at that, they will actually pay attention to what the company has been doing in the news, etc., and that might spur investor confidence, and that will feed into the price. So investors might not necessarily look at the financial statements all the time, but they might look at anecdotal signals, right? They might step back and look at the story of the company. The company has been around since 1993, and it has come an extremely far way, and that might be enough for some investors to buy. So it depends on who is looking at it, but in my opinion, I think the value is a bit rich right now for an entry point, but it's a good performing company in terms of revenue and profitability.
Yeah, a
In
couple
terms
things
of,
based on what you just said, Julian. Firstly,
yes,
we tend to forget about Fosrich when we talk about construction companies. So you see,
right,
booming construction, you talk Carib Cement, you talk your lumber depot. Many
right,
people forget that Fosrich is big in this industry. If you have a building, you have to have light. And you
yeah,
also made a
definitely,
good point about now being a time when a lot of people may be considering switching out their lights for more energy efficient lights because of where energy prices are now.
right,
So yes, that is an opportunity for Fosrich.
right.
You were gonna add something before you wrapped up on Fosrich?
No, so I wanted to just give investors another perspective in terms of the price action. So according to the Bloomberg terminal, the price has grown, it has grown 555% over the last 5 years. And in terms of a 1 year performance, it has done about 284%. So essentially, we're encouraging investors to look long term because um, sometimes we can be distracted by the noise in the market. There are a lot of trading groups now. There's a lot going on, and people might feel overwhelmed. They might have FOMO. But essentially, investors can look long term if they feel as if they have missed the boat. Sometimes a company's best days are ahead of it. And I think Fosrich's best days are ahead of it. So even though right now the entry point might not be sexy, who knows? Things might change in a year or 6 months or even 3 months. So it's just to give investors a perspective to look at.
Let's move on to Mailpack. Oric, you've been looking at their year-end results. What are the highlights from Mailpack for 2021?
Yeah, all right. Let me share my screen now. All right, so here we go with Mailpack. Let's go to the top. All right, so this is Mailpack 2021 year-end results. As you can see there, in comparison, revenue increased marginally by 5.2%, and to top that all off, after cost of sales, gross profit margins came in at about 8.75%. Tiny margins at the top, as we can see. When you move down to the expenses, selling and administrative expenses came in at 373 million. Overall expenses increased by 30%. This was largely due to salary, wages, and other related costs. Sorry, what happened there? Good. All right, right. So in terms of the profits from operation, for the year end, mail pack profits decreased by 6.3%, from 479 million down to 448. All of this has marginally declined. Overall, when you go down to their net profit margins again, that was down 10.2%. So it wasn't really a good year for Mailpack overall, a company that we were expecting better results from, given throughout the pandemic scenario when most people would have been shipping in stuff. EPS declined by 11.1%, and down here we have the gross margins. Net profit margins increased slightly, and that's relative to sales. Return on equity margins remained high, but it's still a significant decline. When you can see over here on the the right hand side of the screen, we had about 33.3% and 33.3% respectively for ROE and ROA. When we move over to Mailpack's balance sheet, this is probably the best thing for them right now. When total assets stood at around $823.8 million, that is a 25.9% increase for the period, and that was mainly due to property, plant, and equipment, which grew significantly by almost 70% to $97.5 million for the period. That is up here. Sorry, I'm not so good at navigating this screen. My apologies. Right here. So,
screen, man.
this was significantly increased, and that's where the bulk of the total asset came from. And this is in line with management intention to increase and expand the company's operating infrastructure. So these numbers are looking good. In terms of their current asset, which is down in this area, the current asset grew significantly by 28.5% overall, to $438 million from $340.9 million over the last period. This was largely due to a healthy increase in the firm's cash position on their book.
Zoom in, Auric. Zoom in on the parts that you're talking about so you can see
Sure.
the screen better.
So right here, right in this area, the cash balances more.
Better,
Good.
thank you.
Right. Good. So the current assets is up 28.5%, and this was largely due to the increase in their cash position by 28.1%. This put the company in a very strong liquidity position. As you can see, the ratios over here, current and cash ratios are currently stood at 4.5 and 3.7% respectively. This indicates that the company is in a sufficient liquidity position to meet their short-term obligations. If you come down to equity, equity attributable to shareholders increased by 21% to $694.5 million. This was mainly due to an increase of $112.8 million in retained earnings. As you can see, that is up about 40.3% over the period. You come down now to liabilities. Mailpack saw right here in the liabilities area, Mailpack saw a 56.4% increase in their total liabilities, which climbed from about $129 million from $82.6 million in the previous year, and that is a significant increase. This was mainly attributed to increase in short and long-term leases and trade payables for the period. As you can see here, this number in terms of the long-term leases has grew by 295%. And then in regards to payables down here, this grew marginally as well. So overall, the company though is in a very strong position in terms of their financial position. The balance sheet has strengthened significantly, and the liabilities still remain in a very manageable position in terms of the leverage of the company's debt. Now, in regards to the valuation metrics, the stock price last closed at around $3.23. That's down approximately 13% year to date. If you flip back to the income statement, EPS is within the range of 16 cents, and that brings us to a PE of 20.1 times. The company paid out in total around 11 cents per share in dividends last year, which brings us at a dividend yield of about 3.2%, and with an average return on equity of 63%. So estimated fair value based on our valuation here at Ideal, we value the stock at around $5.12. It's a potential
Nice.
upside of about 58.5%. Obviously, similar to Fosrich, this is more of a long-term play. So we recommend that you recommend it as a market weight, meaning that it could strongly go either side, whether up or down. So overall, Mailpack not so hot, but it's still a good company to look at right now. We don't always want to buy companies when they're hot and steaming. You end up making wrong decisions during that time. You like to buy stocks when things are quiet, and that's when the real
Exactly.
game
When
is.
it's cool, when it's cool, that's
Right.
when you
So
make your
I think
move.
this is a good opportunity for investors to look at right now.
How are these two companies on dividends, Mailpack and Fosrich?
Well, 11 cents per share for the year 2020. That gives you in, relative to the stock price and the increases last year. That gives us a ROE of about 63%, a return on equity overall.
Fosrich pays dividends, Julian?
No, not to my memory. No, I don't recall that. They're not much of a dividend player.
No.
All right. Let me take one question from the viewers. Strong Link wanted to know, where did the comment go? Oh, here it is. Any indication of what they plan to do with some of that cash paid on and some of those payables?
In Mailpack seem to be beefing up their cash reserve. I can't exactly say what's the play, but I agree it could be used to pay down some of those payables. I guess in at the bottom end, relatively speaking, of the pandemic. And throughout the pandemic, that was the game plan for the company to maintain certain level of cash reserve, so that based on the uncertainties that were pending throughout the economy.
But Oric, knowing Kari being a strategic
Aggressive,
investor,
right?
right, more than likely he could use some of those reserves to purchase another company that is in the
Acquisitions.
space.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
thinking
to
that
grow
too.
inorganically. It
I
seems
was,
he's that type of person. He's that type of investor.
Yeah, that's how he
because
built up
there,
Mailpack. They did a bunch
right,
of acquisitions.
because there are
So
Yeah.
many
that could
other
be,
small retail players throughout the space that
no,
they possibly could be looking at, but
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
involved in those conversations. But that's a healthy cash reserve
Another thing
for
about
some
Mailpack,
buyouts.
so when you think about that industry in Kingston, yes, it is saturated. There's lots
Yeah,
of
yeah,
competition in Kingston, but
yeah.
outside of Kingston, Mailpack is the dominant player. They have so many locations,
Hmm.
and in terms of, yes, there is competition, but when you look at the quality of service outside of Kingston, and know that I'm outside of Kingston, I get this, I understand this.
Right. Right. Right.
Mailpack
Hmm.
really is the player, and there's so much opportunity outside of the capital.
Right.
Yeah, an acquisition would be good for them now, though, especially at this point. So that would be really awesome to see them use up some of that cash, do some buyouts.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, Auric, and boy, I'll
Italian,
forget your name.
Julian.
Julian, Jesus.
Yeah.
Thank
Senior
you,
woman.
guys. Really,
Right.
Horace
really
and
nice.
Julian, thank you so much
All right.
You're
for your
welcome,
Thank
analysis
you.
Thalia. Have a good
today.
night, guys.
Enjoy your evening. And like I was telling you guys, okay, well, let's take the quick break and I'll come back right back with the closing.
And the Analysts was brought to you by Proven Wealth and Ideal Securities Brokers Limited.
Hey, moneymakers, you're not an official part of the family until you have your merch. Visit KalilaReynolds.com/store to order your t-shirt and your mask today. Let's get this money. So, like I was saying, there will be no taking stock next week. We have our annual Easter break. We take a break twice a year, Easter and Christmas. So our Easter break is on next week. So there's going to be no show next week. We'll be back with a brand new episode on April 19. You can watch us same time, same place. But of course, make sure you subscribe to the newsletter at KalilaReynolds.com/newsletter so you don't miss a beat and you can still get your updates while we are off. Let me take a few of your comments in. Yes, I did have a senior moment. Let me take a few of your comments before we wrap. Lanesra says mail pack results aren't bad. It just looks up because they had a stellar year when the pandemic hit. That's true. That is true. That's the same thing. That's when you look at Jamaica's growth numbers. So we grew nearly 7% October to December quarter. But remember, we're measuring against a year that was really, really poor. So it's not hard to show growth versus a year that was very, very bad. So 2020 was really bad for the Jamaican economy in general. So 2021, nearly 7% growth is great. For mail pack, it was the opposite. 2020, because of the pandemic, was a huge opportunity for mail pack because they do deliveries and a lot of people wanted to shop online more. Mail pack has mail pack local. They were doing deliveries for Price Mart. And so they had a really great year in 2020. They had a bumper year. And so even though it may look like, oh, the growth fell off this year, 2021, we're comparing it to an extraordinary year in 2020. So that's a great point, Lanesra. Leon wants to know if we have any updates on Caribbean Dream IPO or UCC. No, I haven't heard any update on those yet. Usually I get a little heads up that something is coming in the next couple of weeks. I haven't heard anything just yet, so I don't know. I don't know what's coming up. Sunshine City says trans. What about it? I see that it's finally above IPO price. Only took 2 years to get there, impacted by the pandemic. Trans IPO just had the worst ever timing, like right when COVID hit. It listed right after the COVID restrictions started. So the IPO opened before the restrictions. And so people bought in and then boom, pandemic, lockdowns, and then the listing ceremony came like a couple weeks after and everybody tried to exit because didn't know what was going on. But now it is back above IPO price. Took us 2 years, but those who held the fort and are still in trans, good for you. Great dividend paying company as well. Strong wants to know how is NCB going. Last I checked, not so well. But you can check for me and tell me what it's doing today. I haven't taken a look at NCB in a while. It's one of those companies that I feel like it's if you're in NCB, you're in it for the long haul. Let me see. Raquel says, okay, I thought that had to do with McDonald's, the company, as in terms of competition for Island Grill. Let me see, what other comments do we have? Oh, yeah, it was about McDonald's. Adriel says, what about McDonald's opening in Jamaica? Remember, Jamaica used to have McDonald's back in the day, and it didn't survive. I'm not sure what the reasons were, but it didn't last. Kilo says, reporting for class. Good to have you on. Let me see, what else? Rizzle says, there's machines that roll the dough nowadays, referring to Island Grill with the, Thalia said that they have people who roll the dough for the festivals. So yeah, but hand-rolled festival tastes better, doesn't it? I don't know. Trust me, I can't make festival. Let me see what else we have. Fosrich is in expansion mode, says Rizzle Riz. that is going to be interesting to watch over the next couple of years. And somebody said that Fosrich did recently pay dividends. They recently paid one. So that's very nice to hear as well. So yeah, interesting show. Thank you so much for watching yet another week. Like I said, we won't be here next week and I will not miss you. I'll be having my fun on vacation, taking some well-needed R&R. Maybe I'll miss you at Toops. Maybe just a little bit. I hope you miss me though. But we'll be back here on the 19th of April. Remember to subscribe to the newsletter at KalilaReynolds.com/newsletter. And if you've been watching this show for the first time and you are interested in investing, but you still haven't taken that step to start and still not quite sure how to start, then of course you can always head on over to KalilaReynolds.com/masterclass and take the class. Until next time, wait, hold on. Let's see, I have a comment here. Yes, we have a couple of videos coming up this week. Tomorrow on Money Moves JA, we'll be talking about what to do if you are late on paying your taxes. You know, the tax deadlines just passed, but if you are late, there are some steps that you can take to bring yourself in the right. Yes, there are penalties that you may have to pay, but there are things that you can do to still, let me not give it away. I was gonna say what you can do, but watch the show tomorrow, Money Moves JA, what to do if you're late on your taxes. And then on Thursday, we have a special feature with Sterling Investments, which is celebrating its 20th anniversary. And not only that, but Sterling. So if you are a conservative investor, then you may want to consider a portfolio with Sterling Investments because they are a fairly conservative group and they're going to tell you all about their strategy, their investment strategy, and how that has worked for them over the past 20 years, as well as throughout the pandemic, how they have remained profitable even during this tumultuous time. So check that out on the platform on Thursday. I'm Kalila Reynolds. Until April 19, I want you to stay strong, stay firm, have a blessed Easter, and of course, let's get this money.
Let's get this money.